What we're going to try to do today is get you together with me here. I'm on the webcam, obviously. And if you want to join us in the chat room, well, I'd love to hear from you. We've got a whole bunch of people here, dozens of them actually. Wow, yeah, a lot. Good to see you all, and thanks for showing up. The idea here is to ask questions, and I'll do my best to answer whatever you've got on your mind. We can talk about internet marketing or ideas for a domain name or a new business or how to pick a niche. Facebook marketing, Twitter, social media, all that sort of stuff. I've been doing this for a long time, and the reason I started clickmillionaires.com was to help you benefit from my experience and from the experience that you can share with each other. Now, I've been online since I think 1993 or 4. It was really early, back in the early days when the internet was still just an academic thing. And I was there early on and started my first company, believe it or not, my first .com. I raised venture capital backing in 1996. So I've been doing this, honestly, as long or longer than almost anybody on the internet. And I'm not a billionaire, but I've done very well, and I enjoy particularly sharing my success and my experience with other people. But like I said, there's two parts of this. There's my experience, and then there's your experience. And I have got a lot of experience, but I know there's a lot of you who also have a lot of experience. So the point of these sessions, like the forum that we run at clickmillionaires.com, is to have me answer what I can, but also you guys are welcome to talk in the chat room. That's why we have the chat room. And of course, to continue the discussions back in the forum at clickmillionaires.com. So that's the idea, all right? I'm going to answer some questions. Where did I put my printouts? Here we go. And a bunch of you have written in already in the forum and posted things you wanted to make sure I had a look at, so we'll work our way through those. I'll also be taking your questions live from the chat room, and I'd love to hear from you, and like I said, have you talk to each other. And while we're at it, let's talk about that chat room. The chat room is available on clickmillionaires.com. If you're a member of Click Millionaires, which I hope you are, then come on over to clickmillionaires.com, and there's 2 pages you want to be looking at. If you're seeing the video already, then you're probably on the video office hours page, which is under the video pull down, which if you're on the site and haven't found it yet is up there, I think, under video and video office hours, and then you'll see my smiling face. On the other hand, if you are having trouble finding the chat room is under the link up at the top there that says chat. And you can pull that open, and I suggest opening them in separate windows. That way you can have the chat room in one window and the video in the other, and that way you can keep things going at the same time. That's what I'm doing right now as we speak, all right? And to pop out the window, by the way, to pop the chat as its own page, there's a little icon on the top of the chat room. It's like 2 little squares that sit on top of each other. If you click that, it will pop out into a separate window, and then you can adjust the sizes on your monitor so that we can all see each other and hear each other and hear me and chat and, you know, the whole crazy 9 yards, okay? So that's the introduction. Welcome to Click Millionaires Office Hours. I'm Scott Fox. So let me say hi to everybody. Wow, what a big group we have today. We've got Trisha and Terry and Sheila and Sean and Scott and Russell and Paul and Ron and Ninos and Nick and Miguel and Lori. And I usually go through and I say where each person is from just to give you a sense, but there's far too many of you to do that today. Let me pick out a couple I know offhand. Dave Pinnell. Dave's here from England. Hey, Dave. It's getting late there in the evening for you. Hussein from Bahrain. I don't know what time it is for you, my friend, but thanks for staying up. Let's see. Jeff and Lana and Lori and Miguel. I think you guys are California or at least United States. Ninos checking in from Baghdad. Hello, my friend. I know it's like 2:30 in the morning for you, so thanks for being here. I hope that we have some value that's worth you staying up all night. And thanks to everybody else who's here as well. I see Seattle, Terry's here, and Sheila from Wisconsin, and a whole bunch of you. So nice to see you all. In New York City, there you go, Lori. Great to see you. Thanks for being here. That was a pretty funny thing I saw you there in the chat room talking about your hair there. I missed that. I was still setting up the cameras, but I was watching. All right. So, hey, Terry, good to see you too. 1:30 there, Ninos. Okay, well, we'll get you in bed by 2:30, okay? These sessions usually run about 40, 45 minutes. We'll go a little longer if there's a bunch of questions still open, but I don't want to keep everybody all day. We'll try to make this short and sweet and fun, okay? So, let's get to it. And let's talk about some of your questions, and thank you all again for being here. The one thing you could do while we're talking, by the way, is to tweet about this or post on your Facebook page that you're enjoying it. If you grab the URL from the Video Office Hours page, I'm talking too fast, aren't I? I'm excited here. I'll slow down. If you grab the URL from the from the Video Office Hours page and post that over on Facebook or on Twitter, let people know that we're doing this. That would be great. It will help us get more members into clickmillionaires.com, and then there'll be more friendly people to help you build your business faster. There's only one of me, so I'm counting on the network effect to make us all raise that raise the tide and raise all our boats together. Okay, so a tweet or a Facebook would be great. All right, so let's see now. We're going to start off with some questions here, and I've already covered. But actually, we have a awesome first question today, which is the perfect segue. Thank you to Dave. I want to say thank you, by the way, to Dave especially. Dave and Mark Mitchell and Hussein from Bahrain, who I mentioned. These three gentlemen have won the featured member award that we call Community Stars. These guys have been community stars for the month of January, and thanks to everybody who voted. I appreciate your feedback. These are awards that we give to the people who are the most helpful, the friendliest, and the most supportive. It doesn't mean they know everything, although these guys know a lot, I gotta say. It just means that you're supportive and helpful. That's what clickmillionaires.com is about. That's why I started this forum and do these sessions. I want people to help each other, okay? There's room on the internet for all of us to make money, and I want us to all help each other. So thanks again to Dave and Mark and Hussein for really actively posting in the forum. And I'll tell you, you know what I think put them over the top with the votes this month? Each of them are providing very specific, actually especially Mark, and then Dave started doing it too, details of things that they have tried. That step-by-step analysis is really helpful to people. So thank you guys for doing that. And if you're just watching this and you're not familiar with those conversations, Mark did a great one about his efforts with search engine optimization and also with using outsourced freelance virtual assistants. And Dave has been chiming in with stuff about that he's been running ads on Facebook and how that's working for him. Really useful stuff. So thanks, guys. Thumbs up. Community stars, you are. So our first question today is actually from Dave, and it's right on topic. It's like the perfect segue. And by the way, if anybody's having trouble hearing me or seeing me, would you please chime in the chat room? Chime in the chat room. And like I said, if you can't find the chat room, it's under the chat link at the top of the menu on clickmillionaires.com. Or go down, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the homepage, the chat room sits there also. So you could use it in either place, okay? But Dave, so let me know if you can hear me and see me in the chat room. Sometimes this thing cuts out, and I know sometimes there are ads that interrupt it, and I apologize for that. But let me know, do a little sound check, okay? All right, Lori linked Google Plus and Facebook and tweeted. Thank you, Lori. That's very thoughtful of you. That'll help this tide rise that much faster for everybody. So our first question today is from Dave, like I said, and Dave left this in the forum for me, and he said, here's a question for Scott, for you, about the YouTube videos you make, as I'm just about to record a batch myself, and I was interested to know more about your preparation. Can I ask how much script writing and rehearsing you do for each video, and how much you actually write down beforehand? I see you occasionally look off to the side, so I'm guessing you have a flip chart or something next to the camera, perhaps with just bullet points on it. Thanks, Dave. All right, Dave. Community Star winners get priority, of course, but also this is a perfect segue because here we are making a video. And you're wondering how I do it. Well, this is how I do it. Just as you suggested, I post bullet points. Depending on how complex the topic is, I usually write down at least a few key points that I want to cover. Now, this usually means, and this is something all of you can do, I post the page. Sometimes I just work from an email like this, and I'll just have it literally here on my desk. Or I might actually, this is really handy, actually tape it to the camera. So in this case, I would come out here, and literally I'd tape it right here under the camera. And that way I can see it without hardly looking away from the camera, and that maintains eye contact with the viewers. Bullet points are about all I generally need. As you can probably tell, I'm a pretty good talker. I do a lot of talking about this stuff and have for a long time. So I don't need a lot of rehearsal, but it helps to have a couple bullet points to stay on track. What I'll offer you is something that's a little less obvious, because you already guessed that in your posting to me, is that I actually often use a script not for the body of the content itself, but for the introduction and the exit. So I can focus in the middle on the content itself, for example, the question you're asking now. But you notice before I got to this, I covered a bunch of points. And then when we end the session, I'll cover a bunch more points. Those actually do come off a script. Because you can get excited when the camera's on, and or distracted easily also. And you want to make sure you cover, well, what you need to cover. So my script is just a couple bullet points. Again, actually, here, I'll show you. If you can zoom in on this, you'll have my secret plan for what we're going to talk about today. But this is literally titled Video Office Hours Script. And it's not the script for everything I've been saying, it's just the bullet points. And it starts with welcome, introduction, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How to tell people to join the chat room, you know, the outline of what I want to cover. And then when that's done, I go to the meat of the topic. And there might be bullet points for that as well. But that's a little easier generally. If it's a straightforward question, I can just answer it. Sometimes with my other videos that are on my YouTube channel, as you're suggesting, those are a little more in-depth or a little more like the website review videos I do, or the more motivational ones. I might have a little more of a script. Or the ones that I did in Istanbul when I was in Turkey a couple months ago on that speaking engagement, and I shot a bunch of videos in Istanbul. Those I had notes because I was filming in the Grand Bazaar in Istanbul, and so I was kind of holding the camera with one hand, and then I had the script, and so I was kind of gripping them together and trying to read because it was so distracting. I was in the middle of Turkey, right? So long story short, a couple bullet points are good, but the key is the intro and the exit, because that's when you embed your calls to action. At the end of the show, you'll see me do it, and you should do it too. You want to say, here's not what I want you to do. I just told you this information, or I gave you this offer, or I answered this question. Now would you please click the buy button, or come and like this on Facebook, or go back to the forum and discuss this, or comment on my blog, or subscribe to my YouTube channel. That closing argument is the payoff for you as a video maker. You've made the video, you've made your case, someone went to the trouble of finding you, listening to the video. At the end there, they're ripe to take action. And that exit script is probably the most important part of the video after the initial get their attention and, bring them into the conversation with you. So I hope that's helpful, Dave. Chime in the chat room if you've got a follow-up question on that, and I'll be happy to help. And thanks for writing in, and congratulations again on being a community star. We all appreciate your friendly help, and it's really great to have you as a member. So thanks. All right, let me check in the chat room, and let's see how we're doing here. Well, let me check my script. Did I miss anything? Let's see. Well, I did. I wanted to invite you to invite your friends. See, that's why you have a script. So if you have friends who would be interested in this sort of program, please invite them. ClickMillionaires.com is free to anybody that buys my books. And if they're a friend of yours, we'll probably let them in anyway if they use your name in the referral box, okay? We're not trying to be exclusive and snobby. I'm just trying to limit the membership to people who actually give a damn, who might actually benefit from the experience and will add value to the community. So if you have friends that are into this, then let us know, invite them, and then next time we're here, we can all be together and build the community that much farther and faster. All right, so what's going on in the chat room? A whole bunch of you here. Man, it's great to see you all. Thanks for joining. Let's see. Great. Oh, Terry has a good comment here. Terry says if you're using an iPad and speaking, you can use there's an app called Teleprompt that you can follow alongside iMovie. That's right. And you can even make teleprompters. I've seen discussions of how to do this online. You can make sort of a teleprompter that will scroll your script as you speak. So if you are not as comfortable or as fluent speaking off the cuff as I am, you can actually create a teleprompter yourself, or as Terry said, there's an iPad app called Teleprompt. Thanks, Terry. Thanks for that. Okay, let's see. And then, okay, Lori. I asked online what you thought of my book cover. Lori, I saw that question, and it wasn't clear what you were asking. So is that what you were asking? Okay, because you had two questions in that post about your new business, which is how to start a subscription box company. I think it's a cool idea, but it wasn't. If you look at that post again, it doesn't say, what do you think of my book cover? So I wasn't sure what you wanted us to do with that. So I will revisit that later. I probably don't want to do that on the fly right now, because if I start popping other windows, I might lose the whole scenario here. So let me grab, where's my notepad? All right, I'll write that down. Check Lori book cover. I will look at that later, okay? Okay. All right, guys. So in the chat room, we're rolling along. Anybody else have questions? Come on in. Well, Terry has a good question. What is a subscription box company? Well, let's see. I think that probably, well, Lori, why don't you answer that in the chat room? I could talk about it, but there are a bunch of companies, excuse me one second, there are a bunch of companies that are offering products once a month or something like that, and Lori can probably tell you more about it than I can, but that's a perfect follow-up for the forum. Okay, Dave and Mark suggest they're not alone in stumbling on the start of a video. Right, exactly. That's why the intro is helpful. You probably don't want to script it word for word, because then you come out wooden. And part of the importance of a video, or the advantage of a video, is that you can come on and grab people, right? And you'll notice whenever I start to show, hey, how you doing? You know, you try to, whoa, okay, I better pay attention here, and that gets people engaged. So I would give yourself some bullet points and practice it a few times. It's not easy, you know. Shooting videos is like anything else. You've got to learn it and practice it. And a script of a few bullet points of just your basics that you get familiar with, so that you can just say it off the top of your head, ad lib, will help you a lot. Okay. So Miguel, good to see you. Do you need to repost your question here? No, you don't, my friend, because I have it here. I saw that you posted it in the forum in response to my question about who's joining us. And here we have Miguel's question. So Miguel's question is one about search engine optimization. And Miguel, it's great to see you. Thanks for joining us. Did you change your profile picture? Because you've got this cool picture of you with a guitar now. I don't remember it being that way before. It's kind of, I don't know if you guys can see this. Does that show up? There's Miguel. Well, not very well, I guess. But anyway, go to the forum and check it out. So Miguel says that he's building up a few niche review sites, and both to learn about hands-on internet marketing and to test which niches he really wants to pursue. So here's where he's stuck. I'm writing the reviews for physical products, and I don't know if I should try to optimize for the product name, a related keyword, my main keyword for the site, which might be, for example, drum cymbals, or leave the keyword optimization for my blog portion of the site. Any thoughts? Okay, and then he has a crucial PS here, which is, he says, I'm not going to base my entire strategy on SEO, but it is going to be my beginning traffic strategy. I did your traffic generation, your traffic building school program, so I'll be implementing those ideas as well. Great. Yeah, Traffic Building School, guys, is a product that I made a couple years ago. It's a little outdated, but it's only $12.95 now, so it's still probably worth it if you haven't seen it yet. Traffic Building School is a daily series of videos for, I think there's 60 videos, each with like a 2-minute thing, which it tells you about a different way to market. And by just watching one short video a day over 2 months, it really can raise your fluency in the language of internet marketing, just so you know kind of what's out there, you know. So I guess that was helpful to you, Miguel, and I'm glad. Thanks. So search engine optimization, great question. And the key thing is that Miguel said he's not basing his entire strategy on SEO, but it is going to be his beginning traffic strategy. And I think that's an excellent point, excellent way to approach it. In fact, that relates to a question from our friend Hussein that I wanted to talk a little bit more about later. So we'll get to that in a second. So to answer Miguel's question, Miguel, the search engine optimization approach, I think, is wise to do first. I think you're right. Start with the search engine optimization. If you're getting confused about how to optimize the pages for your reviews, I would think like this, in terms of a hierarchy. Your site in general is appealing to some general keywords. And keywords here, for those of you who are new to this, is just the idea that when people go to Google and they search for the products or services that your site offers, what are the words they use? Those are the keywords that you want to have all over your site. So if you're selling knitting patterns, then you want to make sure that that's what's on your site a bunch of times. It's really kind of that simple, because that's the words that people will use when they go to Google. They'll type in knitting patterns, and then you want your site to reflect that your site is about what they're searching for. That's what search engine optimization keyword research is about at its heart. So Miguel's asking, well, where do you put these keywords, and how do you organize them so that your product review pages, his specific pages, are more specific than his general pages, like his homepage, for example? So here's what you do. You start with a hierarchy. Your site in general is appealing to search engine optimization keywords like instruments, for example. You're a musical kind of guy, forget the specifics, but you've got a guitar in your picture and you give me an example of drum cymbals, so I'm going to go with instruments. So musical instruments might be the phrase you optimize the whole site for. So that phrase is on pretty much every page, in a lot of your titles and meta tags and links and file structure, as many places as possible. Then as you get more and more specific, you get more and more specific with your keywords. So you might start with musical instruments, and then below that you might have percussion instruments versus stringed instruments versus brass, as an example. And then beneath those, so the category pages for each of those, like brass, would be optimized for both musical instruments and brass. And then beneath that, if you had a recommendation for a particular type of trumpet, I'm just making this up obviously, then you would optimize for that even more specifically on that product review page. So that's the way I would think about it in terms of a hierarchy. General, more specific, very specific. So what that means is that on your product review pages, you've got to get really specific. In fact, if you're reviewing a specific product, you want to mention that specific name in the keywords and optimize that page for that, or for whatever people are searching for that results in that product. So, for example, just going on the example of brass, right? You need a mouthpiece, let's say, for a trumpet. And there's a specific brand of mouthpiece. It's the Smith trumpet mouthpiece. Now, if people are out there searching for Smith trumpet mouthpieces, then, and your page has a review of that, because probably you're an affiliate for that, I'm guessing, then you want to optimize your page for Smith trumpet mouthpieces, that specific product page. However, if they're not searching for the Smith brand itself, but they're searching for trumpet mouthpieces in general, then I'd optimize for that on that specific product page. And also optimize a little bit on the brass category page, and probably not much at all on the home page where you're looking at a general set of keywords that are more about musical instruments in general. So that's a little bit rough, but I hope that's helpful. Did that make sense? Can you guys help out in the chat room too if I'm off base there, or if you have something to add? I know a lot of you know about this stuff too. Lori says, is that for tags too? Yeah, well, I'm not sure what you mean by tags, Lori. You mean like on a blog? Yeah, I guess it would be. Tags are not, are more to identify the categories that it is in. So if you do specific tags for every review, and say you have dozens of reviews, your tag cloud is going to get really crowded. So I'm not sure if I'd go that far. But you certainly would want to have that page under both the musical instruments general category and the brass and maybe even trumpets subcategory. But if you're going to go all the way down to Smith trumpet mouthpieces, that's probably not worth a tag all by itself if you're using those tags in some sort of navigation system. If your tags are just at the bottom of the blog as an additional, bottom of the blog post as an additional keyword, then that's probably fine. You just don't want to have them all in one place, because you'll have so many tags that they won't be useful to people. Depends on how you're using them, I guess. That might be worthy of some more discussion in the forum. I hope that makes sense. Okay, and Miguel says that makes sense. You did answer my question. Hey, excellent. Okay, Nino says, aha, thanks, that was very good. Thank you, Ninos. Ninos gets the award for staying up all night. And Lori chimes in there, yes, a subscription box company answering Terry's question is a setup to get people to pay to receive a surprise box in the mail each month filled with makeup, food, healthy products, and more. Very well put, Lori, thank you. Yeah, the surprise is kind of the key there, Terry. You subscribe like in a category, and then something just shows up, and hopefully it's something interesting to you. And it's often done by promotion, as a promotional vehicle by companies, like Lori said in makeup, for example. They send a bunch of new cosmetics to their subscribers each month, and the recipient is pleased to get new things, and the makeup company is pleased to have found somebody that may be interested. And it's kind of a win-win situation. I think that you not knowing about that may be, frankly, because you're a man, and the only reason I know about it is because my wife is into this sort of stuff, because it does seem to have really hit hard first with cosmetics and beauty products and some things like that is where I heard about it first. So it's a product approach that's now expanding out into other areas. There are obviously subscription box companies for men and different sorts of sporting goods and all kinds of stuff these days. But it's a new approach to retailing that is becoming quite popular. And Lori is now an expert. And if you're looking for advice on that, anybody, go to Amazon.com. And Lori, why don't you type in the name of your ebook there again? And I'll give you a little plug there for anybody that's watching this now or in the replays. Okay. So how are we doing here? Wow, we're in almost a half an hour already? Jeez. You guys make me talk a lot. I'm just writing this down for later. Okay. So, let's see. Let me review the chat room. Anybody with chat questions is welcome, of course. And I wanted to just check and make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay. Looks like we've got a bunch of folks. Now, it looks like a bunch of you are being kind of shy. And that's okay. Being shy is fine in the real world. But if you want to make any money, you got to get over that. I'm giving my time here to try to help, and I'm more than happy to have you just lurk, okay? Well, no, and I guess I'm not. I'm not happy. Let me take that back. Stop lurking. You're going to get out of this what you put into it. This is an opportunity to ask me or ask your friends. You know, if you don't if you don't want to hear what I have to say, that's fine. But then you shouldn't be here. So I'm thinking you probably bought into my shtick at least a little. If I can help you, ask. That's what this is for, and that's what the forum is for. You've got to take action and participate. The things that come up through interacting with other people is how this works. You're not going to figure this out by yourself. In fact, you've recognized that by being here, by joining clickmillionaires.com, by reading my books and so forth. Let us help you. We're trying to help, and it's free. Okay? If you don't know a good deal when you see one, you're not going to make any money on the internet either, okay? So get off the wall, come out and dance a little, okay? Now, if you just tuned in, just as a reminder, I'm Scott Fox. I host clickmillionaires.com, and clickmillionaires.com is a spinoff from my latest book, Click Millionaires, which this is something that should be in my script, guys, that I always forget to do this, is to place the book. See, I should put it within reach, and it's always just 2 feet behind me there, see? That should be in my script. In fact, I'm going to add that. Put book where I can reach it, because I always do that, right? But since I'm doing this, I might as well show people the book, right? Looks like it matches my shirt today. That was very clever of me. New book. Buy this book. Come in the forum. We'll help you. That's the idea. The reason I started this forum, in case anybody's missed it, is that I've been online for, like I said, almost decades now. And there are so few places where you can get real answers from real people that you can trust. So many people are out there busy trying to get rich off each other. They're like crabs in a bucket, right? I've got the answer. I've got the answer. Facebook, SEO, buy my CD, And there's so few places where regular people can ask regular questions. I know you're not Steve Jobs or Mark Zuckerberg. I'm not either, right? But I figured out a lot of this stuff, and I'm happy to share what I can, and I'm encouraging you guys to share what you have with others. Together, this makes a movement. I want this to grow. I want this to be bigger and bigger so that regular people realize that the internet is here to change your life. The internet is an opportunity for every one of you to get out there and have your own business where you set your own hours, where you can come to work in a t-shirt, right? I mean, this is a big deal. And so many people still feel like they can't participate, that they're left out, that they don't have the technical skills, or they don't have $1 million of venture capital behind them, or they don't have a good idea, or they don't know what their passion is, right? All of these things are solvable today, especially with a community of people to help you. That's what clickmillionaires.com is about. So thanks to all of you who are here and joining me, helping me get this going, right? We've got, I think, almost 1,300 members now, and that's great. And things like this get more and more popular, and I hope you'll help me spread the word, because I want to help more people. More people deserve to participate in this kind of thing, and I need your help to do it. So anyway, that's why we're here. And if you're just tuning in, sorry for the rants, we're taking questions live. So let's get back to the questions. Okay, let's see. Caroline. Hi, Caroline. Nice to meet you. She says, I won't be shy, but I only joined today. You'll hear plenty from me eventually. Okay, Caroline, that's a deal. Let's see. Scott, oh, that's a good question, Terry. Do you like standing for these sessions because it keeps you more energized? Terry, that's a great question. In fact, I've been about to do a blog post about this for, geez, like 2 years, 3 years. In fact, I've even considered starting a whole website about it. Believe it or not, I stand all day. I got rid of my desk about a year ago, and I stand all day, every day. It is much healthier. It makes me feel better. My back is better. My neck is better. And I recommend it to anybody and everybody. I haven't gone so far yet to get one of those treadmill desks yet, but I've been thinking about it. And all these studies coming out that's saying that sitting kills you. This is a good topic for the forum if anybody wants to talk about it. I customized my desk. I stand all day, every day, not just during these sessions, exactly because it keeps me energized. Absolutely. Okay, let's see. So Dave says, an interesting question. Well, this is an interesting one, Dave. What's the big next online thing for making money and marketing online? Social media is the big thing at the moment. YouTube has matured. What, in your opinion, is emerging? I'm not sure YouTube is matured yet. Let's back up a little bit. YouTube, I think, is still staggering in its potential. Google is the #1 search engine. The #2 search engine, YouTube. YouTube is far larger than Yahoo and Bing. I think it's larger than all of those combined. YouTube is a massive force for cultural and business change that I don't think we have. We're not in the first inning anymore. Sorry, you're English, so it's a 9-inning ball game. in baseball here in the States. I say we're about in the third inning. Maybe I don't even think we're in the fourth inning yet. Meaning basically that we're less than half over to see what YouTube becomes. If you add YouTube and Hulu and Netflix and all the other sites and BitTorrent, and all that pirating, video is just emerging. Then you add in live streaming services like this one, and there's just a lot going on in video yet. So I wouldn't be so quick to think YouTube is mature. That'd be interesting to talk about in the forum if you'd like to. But that wasn't your question. Your question is what's next? I think it's pretty clear, actually. Well, I've got lots of ideas, but the big one, it's mobile. I mean, mobile. Mobile. Again, mobile. Making sites responsive so that they react on small screens so that people can see and deal with them easily when they're on little screens like this and on their tablets and stuff like that, and that they're more clickable. The new phrase I heard last week is tappiness. Tappiness is a new design goal because you want people to be able to navigate not with a mouse, but by tapping, right? So tappiness is a goal in design. And I'm not just talking about apps, right? The app stores have exploded, obviously. But all of you should be thinking with your business ideas, not just how can I sell this on the internet, but how can I make this an app? Because you can take what used to be big software programs that have all kinds of functionality, like Photoshop or something that you can do 1,000 things with, and you can take just one little piece out of that, turn it into an app, put it on, in the Apple Store or the Google Play Store, and bam, you've got a business, like a real business. Now, the competition and the evolution of that market, clearly very rapid and perhaps even dangerous, but the opportunities there, staggering. Second, you add that to internationalization. All of us should be thinking about how to expand our brands overseas. I know most of you are here you're new to this, so I'm not trying to blow your head off with like how complicated this could get. Make the first dollar first. That's what Cook Millionaires is about. But if you're looking where this is going mobile, and it's going that Google translates everything on the fly, and you want to think about, wow, if I could do this in English and make money, what would it look like in Russian, Chinese, and Hindi? And that's all coming. That's still, I don't know, 5 years away, maybe even 10. The mobile stuff's now. But those two forces together are going to revolutionize what we're doing online. And what we're doing right now may seem cutting edge, but man, it is nothing compared to what we're going to see in 5 or 10 years. So anyway, I'm quite a futurist, Dave. If you want to start some threads about that in the forum. I've even been thinking about starting a podcast just about the future because I get fascinated with this kind of stuff. But anyway, I hope that was interesting for those of you, and you're welcome to discuss that more. Like I said, again, more in the chat room would be great as well. Okay, so let's see. Now, I see somebody said, great question, and I don't see what the question was, so let's see. Let's see. Hey, there's Trisha. Oh, I got to give a shout out to Trisha. Trisha says, you're right, Scott. I need to get in there and stop being shy. My husband and I are just starting. Yay, Trisha. I don't have sound effects in this program like I do on my podcast, but here's one for you, Trisha. That's right. We're not going to bite you. We're here to help you, okay? Look at all these people in the chat room. Everybody say hi to Trisha, please, right? This is somebody who stepped out from her comfort zone to say hello. She's got a cool hat on. She's the icon with a little hat on. That's right. There's nothing to lose here. Fear of failure is greatly overrated, substantially overrated, life-changingly overrated. Let's get out there and say hello. Okay, let's see. Okay, here's a question. Here's the one. Mark says, great question, Sheila. Sheila's question was, how long do you suggest having a blog or website up before you can apply for affiliate marketing programs? Well, that's a good one. Okay, let's see. I just take notes so that I can remember what I talked about later, so I can write a little summary of the session when I post it elsewhere. How long do you wait? Okay, so how long do you wait? You put up a website. How long should you wait before applying to affiliate programs? It depends on the affiliate program. Some of them are desperate for participants. Some are really, really picky. Some approve automatically. Some don't. Honestly, it's hard to tell. What I would do is Commission Junction, cj.com, commissionjunction.com, it's literally just cj.com, is the world's biggest broker of affiliate programs. You can go in there and look around. You can sign up for an account for free anytime. I would go in and look around and see what kind of offerings there are that fit your audience, right? If you have a travel blog or a car blog or whatever it is, see what's in there that might appeal to your audience. and then try to do some research on the, so, just don't drive yourself crazy here. I'm not into big over-researching, as you guys know. But pick 2 or 3 of them and look at the program and the program requirements. Sometimes it will say, you must have been up for 6 months, or you must have this kind of traffic, or something like that. And that will tell you real quickly what they need. Other than that, I have not been denied for an affiliate program in a long time. It's not so much, I think, about the length of your site being up as the quality of partnership you are offering to the affiliate program moderator. By that I mean, when people say to me they haven't been approved, 90% of the time it's because one of these sort of things. They're applying using a free email address like Hotmail, like scott@hotmail.com. They're not going to approve you. You look like you don't even have your own website. Or if your website is on a free host, it's a Blogspot blog without even a custom domain. Well, they're probably not going to approve you, especially if you don't have any traffic, because you're using a free domain. Why would they want to be in business with you, right? The site looks like crap. It doesn't even have its own logo. It's so new that Google hasn't even crawled it yet. It's poorly optimized. I mean, basically, blah, blah, blah. It's that the site doesn't look like somebody they'd want to be a partner with. I think that if you apply to a credible, professionally administrated affiliate program and your site looks like a site they'd want to do business with, they'll probably approve you. Now, this means, as you suggest sort of implicitly, that you don't just have one blog post up, and especially if it's one of those blog posts that people do all the time that say, this blog is going to be about da-da-da-da-da. Well, it's not going to be about, it is. The blog is up, man. Let's go. You got to put some stuff up there. I don't ever do one of those posts, because you find those all the time. And they say, this blog is going to be about X, Y, and Z, dated March 12th, 2009, right? They did one post that never came back. It's going to bite you if you write posts like that. So I think it's not so much quantity of time as quality of presentation, Sheila. I know that's an iffy answer. If anybody, this would be a good question to post in the forum, because to be fair, I haven't applied for a lot of new affiliate programs lately, and I have a network of my own sites that are pretty well established, right? Why don't you post that question in the forum, and maybe some of our friends here who have recently been denied can give you some feedback. That's a perfect use for our community. Maybe you could do that, Sheila, or if anybody else is interested in pursuing that question with Sheila. I know some of you have been denied. I know we've had a great thread, for example, recently about getting denied by AdSense. See, that's another example. That's not a problem I have, because I've had an AdSense account since, I don't know, 1999 maybe or something, right? But now I see it's an issue, right? So together we'll figure these things out, and I thank you for bringing up the question, Sheila. Okay, let's see. How are we doing here? Lots of action in the chat room, and I appreciate you all being here, especially those of you who are here in Europe, in the Middle East, in the middle of the night. Okay, Ninos. Okay, let's take a question from our good friend Ninos. I'm not wearing my shirt today, but I have in a previous episode, guys. Ninos works in the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. He's part of the U.S. forces there I think you're a civilian though, right, Ninos? You're a civilian employee at the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. And he sent me this really cool shirt I wore a few episodes back. It says U.S. Embassy Baghdad over the chest. So thanks again for that, Ninos. His question is, should we start implementing the mobile user interface to the new website itself so we don't need apps anymore? That's a great question, Ninos. I don't think there's a right answer. If you are mobile fluent, I would do both. Of course, nobody has time and money to do both all the time, so I would pick the one that looks like the best opportunity in your market. In your market, that's probably based on the competition. If there's a lot of apps out there already, then probably doesn't make a big difference. But if there are no apps out there, I'd skip the website and go right to the app. Yeah, get in there. That market is moving really fast, and you could own that little niche and then use that to expand onto the web instead of the traditional reverse angle instead. Let's see. Ron, hey Ron, nice to see you. I hope your business is doing well. Ron, I think, is a former Community Star winner as well, a great early participant who joined us a few months ago, and thanks again for your help, Ron. Ron has a techie question. Is there a way for me to determine where a person is located geographically when they use my online form to send an inquiry? I want to keep the form minimal so I don't ask for their address on the form. I've heard of something about IP location software for WordPress. Okay, good Good question there. Locating the IP address is something that most systems can do automatically. It's in the browser basically when somebody arrives on your site. So I don't know about a specific plugin for WordPress, but I would either start a question in a topic in the forum and ask, or simply Google that. Have you Googled just IP location plugin WordPress and see what shows up? That sounds like something somebody would have done. Another angle I'd suggest, and this is actually a really good resource, I'm glad you brought this up, Ron. There are some great services online. You can do forms and surveys using Google Forms, basically for free. But one I use, and I use it all the time, I have this thing installed on, I don't know, half a dozen different websites. It's called Woofoo. You guys heard of that one? I'm going to type it into the chat room. It's silly sounding. Woofoo.com. There. WUFoo.com. This is a online form creator and survey creator site. And I used to use SurveyMonkey.com, which is a very good one also. But SurveyMonkey actually bought Woofoo, so they're part of the same company now. So I let my SurveyMonkey.com subscription expire, and I do everything with Woofoo now. Extremely configurable, nice looking forms, Ron, and I'm pretty sure there's an IP locator in there. It's not free. Well, they do have a free version. The basic version is free, actually. I just use it so much I pay some really expensive amount, like $12 a month or something. It's basically free anyway. But that sort of thing could be really useful for you, and dress up your forms as well. So you might look at woofoo.com. Quick side note, woofoo.com was named because the founders really like Wu-Tang Clan and the Foo Fighters. How's that for new wave internet branding? So, okay, let's see now. Oh my gosh, we're almost 45 minutes in already. So I said this was going to go 45 minutes. There's so many of you here. I guess I still have a few questions. Why don't we go 15 more minutes till the turn of the half hour? Okay. Sorry about that. I hope this is helpful to you guys. A lot of you are still here. Actually, great. Here's a great answer for you, Ron. Nick in the chat room says there are several contact form plugins for WordPress that can capture IP address of the submitter. So maybe that's helpful to you. Okay, let's see now. Lost my train of thought, but let's... okay, now look at all those hellos to Trisha. There you go, Trisha. Welcome. Nice to meet you. And thanks, everybody, for playing that silly little game with me. That'll show you, Trisha and hubby, as Lori says, that we're here, and we're happy to have you. And that's for real. Okay, so... how many of you have used GoDaddy? Now GoDaddy, Trisha, there you go with your first question even. There you go, girl, stepping out. There's a great thread in the forum from Colleen Hutchinson, I believe. Go into the forum and look around for GoDaddy, because she was going to use GoDaddy for a bunch of stuff, and so many of us jumped on her, nicely of course, that she's not using GoDaddy, and I think it's important for you to understand when and when not to use GoDaddy. GoDaddy is my #1 recommendation for some services, and my absolute last don't do it recommendation for others. Check it out in the forum, and if you can't find it, please post again in the forum, and we'll help you figure that out. Let's see. Okay, and then what happened there? No. There are a lot of you here today, and that's fabulous. Okay, so Sheila says, yes, thank you, Sheila. Mark, I saw that, and then it rolled away again. Thank you, Sheila. Mark said, I've not yet signed up for a ClickBank account since I opted for Amazon. I was curious if there was any issue with using both for the same product. Okay, so you mean as a merchant here, you're selling, or not as an affiliate, it sounds like, I'm guessing. So you're thinking that you want to sell something both through ClickBank and through Amazon. Correct, Mark says. Great, okay. So is there any conflict? Yes, there can be conflict of two kinds. One is terms of service, basically, and the other is what we call channel conflict. Amazon requires exclusives in some cases. For example, if you, I haven't done this yet, but I'm thinking about doing it myself. That's why I read about this recently. If you are going to sell an ebook in the Kindle store and you want to do promotions with them, they often insist that it be exclusive to them. So I would look at the terms of service depending on what you're doing. I don't know if you're doing a Kindle thing or what angle you're taking, but just read the terms. They'll tell you. It's got to be exclusive at least for 90 days or something like that. ClickBank doesn't really care. ClickBank will take anything, and most of ClickBank is crap, right? But it has some great tools, so I still recommend it in the right situation. If you're coming up with a digital download sort of product, ClickBank can be a great tool. but again, the terms of service at Amazon are probably the ones you want to look out for because they're pickier than ClickBank. The second type of conflict is what we call channel conflict. Channel conflict means pricing. If you're selling something in Amazon for 20 bucks and you're selling something at ClickBank for 20 bucks, you're probably okay. The problem for you as the merchant, though, that's what you call the person selling in an affiliate scenario. In both those cases, you're hoping that people are going to resell for you, especially ClickBank, right? You're hoping that other people are going to pick up that offer. Well, if you're selling for $20 there and you want affiliates to pick up the offer, you're going to have to offer them an incentive. In many cases, ClickBank affiliates expect a third, 50%, even up to 75% of the purchase price. So if you're going to offer 75% of your purchase price, well, that's $15 out of your 20 bucks. So you can't probably afford to sell it for $20 on ClickBank anymore. You've got to sell it for $30 or $40. So then you're selling it for 40 bucks on ClickBank, 20 bucks on Amazon. That's channel conflict. So you need to think through your pricing early on because you don't want people, especially people who have voted for your product by becoming affiliates of yours to promote your product. You don't want to screw them by tripling the price when they're trying to sell when you're offering it much cheaper over at Amazon. I hope that makes sense. Okay, let's see here. I've got a couple more printed ones here. Got to get to these too because I promised I would. And let's see, I wanted to talk a bit about the one that Hussein had sent in. This was his question from this week about the relative priority of search engine optimization versus social media optimization when you're launching a new internet business. And that's what we're talking about here. By the way, if you tuned in late, I'm Scott Fox from clickmillionaires.com. Happy to have you here. This is a video office hour session, and we do this a couple times a month for our members to help everybody make more money. So Hussein asked about, basically I'll boil this down since we're running out of time, but he asked about, if I'm setting up a new site, should I start with search engine optimization or should I start with social media? Now, I think the answer is search engine optimization, and here's why. Both are important, but if you do search engine optimization correctly, you figure out your keywords, you set up your file structures, and you name everything correctly and do the hierarchy that we talked about earlier during that question about SEO earlier. Especially if you're in a niche area, SEO isn't something you're going to have to spend a lot more time on. If you're a big company, you're Coca-Cola competing against Pepsi, then you're constantly tweaking your search terms. But when you're a little guy like most of us, you're going to kind of set it and forget it. So I would do that first. And it would also, and I forgot to mention this earlier in the SEO discussion, the on-site stuff is only part of search engine optimization. You really need your keywords picked so that when other people link back to you, that's really what Google counts as much or more as what you do on the site. And you need to get all that in place first. Then I would dive into social media. Twitter, Facebook, Google+, LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest, whatever your interests are. All of that stuff can be important to build your brand, but I wouldn't try doing that until you get the search engine optimization done, because doing search engine optimization later is expensive, time-consuming, and difficult. It means reworking your file structures, renaming things throughout the site, changing your whole strategy in some ways. And you want to get that right the first time and then walk away. And then you can spend time on social media because that's where it actually takes a lot of time. Social media is never finished. You're always out there, following people and retweeting and liking and posting pictures, and it's a constant dialogue. And if you don't have your search engine optimization in place first, social media will distract you and you'll never get it done. Okay? So thanks, Hussein. That was a good question. I wanted to clarify for people. If you'd like to chime in on that discussion or any of the other things we're talking about, head over to the clickmillionaires.com forum, and there's plenty more to be discussed there as well. All right, so we're, let's see, I got one more question here from the forum that I was going to cover. Is there anybody who wants to chime in here at the end? Connie asks, are there any good places to find widgets for polls? Is Wufoo a choice for that? Actually, Connie, I don't know if you can do polls. You probably can. I've never tried it. I used the Vizu poll widget for a long time, but they discontinued that one, and I haven't done any polls lately. So I would Google around and ask, or let's ask our folks here. Anybody got a cool poll widget that you can recommend to Connie? Please let us know. Terry chimes in about Amazon. Thanks, Terry. Right, of course you would know about this. The ebook has to be exclusive to Amazon for 90 days. That's right. I thought there was something like that in their terms of service. So, Mark, that might affect your lending. Sorry, your competition between ClickBank and Amazon. Okay, let's see. Paul. Hey, Paul. Nice to see you. First time. Where is your question? Let's see. Let's see. Okay. Yes, Paul. Yes. Well, Dave's suggestion is a good one. Is that to put it in the forum, but let's see if we can do it here. I found it. So Paul says, I've loved your 2010 video on what to focus on. Find a demand. Right. How do you create a demand when your idea is kind of revolutionary? My idea is a new way to get people to stay with a music instrument for life beyond the lesson time. My method involves the right brain with eyes, ears, touch first. Wow. Okay, cool. Well, congratulations, Paul. Sounds like you are a revolutionary. I love revolutionaries. You've got a big idea, and that's fantastic. So how do you create demand? Well, it's hard, Paul. I mean, creating demand is a lot harder than solving problems people already recognize. Many people have gone out of business trying to create demand, including myself. I almost went bankrupt one time about 10 years ago. I had the best idea in the world, and not enough other people cared. So I'll give you an answer here, Paul, but I think this is a good discussion for the forum because we'll get into more depth. But let me caution you, be careful and know when to say when, because you can get yourself in trouble trying to create demand. Human nature is not as easy to change as people think. That's why most of my advice revolves around finding something you love that other people need help with. Okay? So, given that big caveat, how do you create demand? Well, I think you probably need to demonstrate it. I think YouTube would probably be an excellent vehicle for you because you could go on and show people how this works. I would really think about targeting people who are already interested in learning. Figure out who your ideal customers are, where they work and live, and especially where they hang out online. They probably have some forums that you could join and participate in and do some demonstrations perhaps. You might think about networks of music teachers to market to them as opposed to the end users, because music teachers are already half sold, right? They know and believe that learning musical instruments is important, whereas the general Joe on the street might not care. I would go as niche as possible to find your first 10 customers. Don't think in terms of thousands of customers. Figure out who those first 10 or even the first one customer. You know, there's probably just one or two basic personality or professions that you can focus on and figure out how to make friends with those people. Convince them, turn them into sales machines for you. Not in a crass way, but I mean like convince them. You're trying to start basically a movement or a religion about something that people don't already believe. That's a tough road. But if you've got something revolutionary that can convince a few people, you want to work with them and incentivize them, frankly, to spread the word for you. The best way to create demand, in short, is to seed a movement and then feed the movement so that people will spread the word for you. In other words, word of mouth. In my second book, here's my failing again in my script. I guess I should put all my books here where I can reach them. You would probably find this book very interesting, Paul. If you haven't read this one, this is my second book, E-Riches 2.0. This came out a couple years ago, and this is about social media marketing and how people can use social proof, the idea that other people are interested, and use that as an asset to spread across Twitter and Facebook and blogs and podcasts and all that kind of stuff. And this book is, well, not surprisingly, it's the best book I know about those points, and it's written in plain English like the rest of my books. So it's a good topic, though, Paul. So if that wasn't enough for you, as Dave suggested, and thank you for that, Dave, come on over in the forum and we'll talk about it some more. I hope that might give you some thoughts, though. Yeah, and Terry, there's a good idea. How about wholesaling it to music teachers? Yes, there we go. Okay, and then our last question today, I think, is going to be from our friend Anna. Anna had a wonderful surprise land in her email inbox, and I thought this would be of interest to a lot of you, which is that someone wants to buy one of the domain names she bought. Anna bought a bunch of domain names around an idea she had. She's only implemented a couple of them, but that left her several others that weren't being used. Turns out somebody wants to buy it, and they wrote her and said, we actually have, I don't want to give this away too much, but they have a company basically that's launching a product line with the same name that she owns the .com of. Okay, so she has a .com that matches exactly the name of this company's new product line, and they want to buy it. So she says, let's see, I can't believe someone's wanting to buy one of the many domain names I bought. I'm not sure what my options are, and you are my inspiration for buying them. Please help. So how do you value a domain name? And then we're going to wrap up. But how do you value a domain name? This is an interesting question. And let me lay this out for you, because this is going to happen to all of you. I know a lot of you, like me, have an idea and you go buy the domain name. Next week you have another idea, you buy a domain name. Pretty soon you can't build enough websites for all the domain names you own. How do you value one if somebody comes to you? Well, in most cases, those emails they're BS. They're some scammer or spammer trying to talk you out of it, or there's somebody who's really only got, you know, $10 anyway, and they're just taking a flyer to say, hey, maybe you don't want this, I'll give you $10 for it, or you paid 10, I'll give you 12, right? Not a real offer. But this sounds like a real company, a real offer. So how do you value this stuff? Well, here's how I think about it. A domain name's value is essentially only as good as you can negotiate. There isn't really a hard value for any domain name. Now, if a domain name is already established on a website and has a certain amount of traffic, especially if there's traffic that's actually generating money, like there's a business there, then you can value the domain name. But the domain name is really a function of the business itself, not just the domain name. So if somebody wants to buy the domain name and use it for their business, then the business you have isn't of any interest to them. That's just an opportunity cost for you when you sell it. So if you're making $1,000 a year, well, of course you'd want to sell it for 1,000 plus whatever to them. But they don't care about your 1,000 because they think they're going to make 100,000 or a million, right? So what do you do? Well, frankly, it's only as good as you can negotiate. In most cases, and I've done this a lot, it's somewhere between $50 and pick a number. 500,000. It could be whatever you think it's worth. And there's no good answer to this except to ask and be nice and be polite and raise the price as much as you can. And I've done this myself. I've been involved in transactions of as much as $100,000 for a domain name. That, of course, was a division of a Fortune 500 company that had deep pockets and needed the domain name for a specific purpose. Most domain name transactions, in my experience, go from $50 to maybe $2,000, right? If there isn't something already there that's of value, and there's not a trademark issue involved with the name, then you're probably talking a few $100, maybe a couple thousand. And if that's the case, it's really kind of like selling a used car. I got the car, you want it? How much you got? Okay, so that's the bottom line with domain name sales. I hope that's helpful, Anna. And anybody else, if you want to talk about that sort of thing, this is going to happen to all of you. I promise. I know you guys have been buying a lot of domain names. So think about this and get ready, because at some point you're going to get these emails like I get all the time. All right, well, it's great to see you guys. And Flippa.com, thank you. That's a great idea. Flippa.com is a site that brokers the sale of not just domain names, but actually websites. Last time I looked anyway. It's not so much domain name brokerage, but if you're already running a business on the site and you want to sell it, you can look at Flippa, and that's FLIPPA.com. Flip, as in flip the property to somebody else. All right, so that's Click Millionaires video office hours for this week. It's been great to see you all. I really appreciate you being here. Please tell your friends, invite them to come on over, and most importantly, please participate. We're not going to get anywhere without you, and you know what? You're not going to get anywhere without you participating either. Just lurking, not going to pay your mortgage. Come on into the forum. Let us know how we can help. I'm here all the time. We've got a great staff of moderators. Some new people have joined us from all over the world. We're happy to have you. I'm happy to have you. And I'd particularly like to point out to come in the forum and participate in the community activities. For example, we have a Twitter caravan. If you're looking for more Twitter followers, come join on the Twitter train. If you're looking for Facebook friends, come join the Facebook friends train. These caravans are designed so that we can all tweet and follow and like each other. And again, the rising tide lurks and lifts everybody. So stop lurking, come on in and contribute. If you like this sort of thing, come on over to Masterminds. That's the private, smaller group that we have at Click Millionaires. And Masterminds is not free, but we have sessions like this where we actually can all see each other. Masterminds meetings, we call them. We do those twice a month in small groups from all over the world. I would love to have you join us if you'd like that as well. So I'm Scott Fox. Thanks very much for joining me. Let's get out there. Let's make it happen. I hope to see you again soon at clickmillionaires.com. Bye for now.